Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Chris here with High Seas Cruising, and welcome to the Cruise News. Got a couple stories for you today. I got a cruise pier that was struck by a runaway barge. We have a new cruise ship sailing out of Galveston, Texas. We have an itinerary change and some cruise cancellations for Royal Caribbean. And we have a Carnival cruise ship. Well, she's having engine troubles again. Let's get into some cruise news. First up, we have a cruise ship pier that was struck by a runaway barge. Now, this happened up in Port of Seattle in Elliott Bay when it broke free from its moorings. And initially, it was headed over towards the Seattle waterfront. And if you're familiar with the Seattle waterfront, that is where you're going to find the Great Wheel, the Ferris wheel. That's also where you're going to find the aquarium. A lot of people can be down in that area. It could be quite crowded. Well, initially it was headed there, but luckily a water taxi saw it coming, jumped into action, and was able to nudge against the barge and kind of push it out of the way. Now, they were trying to get it completely out of everybody's way. However, it did still make contact over with Pier 66, which is the cruise port terminal where Norwegian Cruise Line docks during the Alaska season. Now, luckily, the Alaska season is over. There were no cruise ships there whatsoever. So it just had contact over there with the barrier of the dock. Now, the extent of the damage is unknown. The Coast Guard was notified, the barge was recovered, and an investigation is ongoing as to, how this occurred, how did it get free, what actually happened. They still have to assess any damage that, of course, was done to the cruise terminal dock, but from the pictures I saw, it wasn't really anything major. And it's all thanks to the water taxi that did their absolute best to keep it from at least hitting the aquarium where there were people, moved it off to somewhere where it was a little bit safer for the little bit of contact that it did make. So this past Sunday, Princess Cruise Line's Regal Princess arrived in Galveston, Texas. Now, this is going to be the largest Princess cruise ship that has ever sailed out of Galveston. She's going to be doing different Western Caribbean itineraries between now and March 24th of 2024. Then from there, she is going to begin her transatlantic crossing, head over to Europe, do some different itineraries over there, including some British Isle cruises, before she returns back to Galveston later on in the year. Now, this being the first time that Regal Princess has ever been to Galveston, of course, they did the plaque exchange ceremony. They had a drill team from Ball High School, one of the local high schools there in Galveston, come on board, do a little ceremony, have a little music, a little bit of a party, welcoming the Regal Princess down to Galveston. And she joins the other cruise lines already sailing out of Galveston: Carnival Cruise Lines, Royal Caribbean, Disney Cruise Lines, and Norwegian Cruise Lines. So if you're a fan of Princess, like sailing out of Galveston, well, the Regal Princess, she's there, she's ready for you to book your next Princess cruise. Next up, we have itinerary changes and cruise cancellations from Royal Caribbean. So it all starts off with Royal Caribbean's Jewel of the Seas. Now, Jewel of the Seas was scheduled to sail over in Israel. And of course, with everything going on in that part of the world, those cruises have been canceled. And instead, the Jewel of the Seas is going to be redeployed back to the United States and is going to do sailings out of Boston. She's going to do Canada and New England cruises. Now, Grandeur of the Seas was scheduled to move from Florida up to Boston to do those sailings, and now those sailings have been canceled, and Grandeur of the Seas is going to continue sailing out of Tampa. So this affects quite a few people, because if you were booked on Jewel of the Seas sailing out of Israel, all of your cruises have been canceled. If you were booked on Grandeur of the Seas sailing out of Boston, doing Canada, New England, and Greenland cruises, all of those cruises have been canceled. Now, all the guests affected, they have been notified of the cruise cancellations. They've been given different options depending on their cruise, and the cruise line, of course, Royal Caribbean is working with them to get them booked on other cruises and different cruises. So a lot of cancellations. Now, to me, it seemed like it would be easier to, perhaps move Jewel of the Seas to where Grandeur of the Seas was in Florida and then not have to cancel any of that, or at least move all of the passengers booked on Grandeur over to Jewel of the Seas and have Jewel of the Seas just assume those itineraries. But for whatever reason, that's not what the cruise line did. They just did straight cancellations across the board, and then Jewel of the Seas is going to have its own set of itineraries. So if you're booked on any of those ships, just be aware of all these changes. You probably have already received the email and what choices you're going to have to make for your upcoming cruise. But yeah, that's a lot of changes for just essentially one cruise ship having to cancel. Quite a bit of shuffling around has resulted from that. And finally, we have Carnival Cruise Lines and a ship with engine troubles. And this time, or again this time, it is the Carnival Panorama. And these engine troubles, of course, have affected her maximum speed, causing the ship to have to slow down, and has resulted in 2 port cancellations on her current sailing. So the Panorama left Long Beach, California back on Saturday, November the 4th, doing a 7-night Mexican Riviera itinerary. Was supposed to go to Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan, and Cabo San Lucas. And because of the engine trouble, now they're going to have to skip Puerto Vallarta and Mazatlan. So out of the 3 ports, they're going to have to miss 2 of them just so the ship can get back to Long Beach on time like it was scheduled to. Now, also affected is Cabo San Lucas. They are still going to Cabo San Lucas, but they were supposed to be there on Thursday. Instead of being there on Thursday, they're now going to be there on Wednesday, and they're getting an extra 90 minutes in port. Now, because of this, all excursions that were booked for the 2 canceled ports through Carnival will automatically be refunded, and the shore excursion team is working to, to get the shore excursions on Thursday moved back to Wednesday. And all staterooms on board the ship, they're being given $400 of onboard credit, but it didn't specify whether or not this was refundable onboard credit or something you had to use on board the ship. Now, if you're an experienced cruiser, you know there are ways around that, but they miss 2 ports of call, and sometimes they will give you the onboard credit, but it's not refundable, so you have to use it on the ship, even if you'd rather, put it back in your pocket. Now, this is not the first time the Carnival Panorama's had engine problems. She just had engine problems this past June and caused a delay in the ship returning to Long Beach. She also had engine trouble in December of 2022 and in August of 2021. So this is multiple times we've had engine problems with the Carnival Panorama. And for that particular class of ship, that Vista class of ship, we've also seen engine trouble from the Carnival Vista, and we've seen it in the Carnival Horizon. And we've seen it multiple times for those other ships as well. Kind of makes you wonder, there's something with that class of ship that creates engine problems. I know other cruise ships have engine problems. Other cruise lines have engine problems. It's not uncommon, but for this particular class of ship, the Vista class of ship, it's happening more often than I think would be normal and compared to other ships. Hopefully they figure out whatever the problem is. These ships have gone in, they've been in dry dock, they've been repaired, yet here we go again with engine problems on board a Vista class ship, this time the Carnival Panorama. And that's going to be our cruise news video for today. I hope you have enjoyed today's video. If you have, do me a favor and hit that like button. If you haven't done so yet, do me a favor and hit subscribe. It is free to do so. Helps our channel grow. Let you know anytime we put out a new video. Hope everyone out there is having a really great day, and like always, we will see you out on the high seas.